Live from London, United Kingdom, it's time for Gfinity Spring Cup number 2 Masters Tournament. We're going to see who's going to be able to get some World Championship points and some more money playing some Hearthstone. My name is Frodan, and I'm joined in the analysis corner by Lothar from Team Nylum and Kali from Team Fnatic. How's it going, guys? What's it like being here in London, first of all?
It's my first time in London. Very excited. It's a really beautiful city. I was sightseeing yesterday, so I'm really excited to be here. But the most excitement goes from Hearthstone here. We have many powerful players here. 16 players were ought to be here, but 2 didn't make it. So we have 14 players, but still super competitive environment.
That's right. Kaldi, you're normally a player, but we're here in the analysis corner. This is the first time we have a dedicated analysis portion. We're not casting, actually, from here. This is where we get to talk about the games and be mean to the players, or be a little more critical of them, but also break down more of the advanced concepts. Pretty fun.
Yeah, I think it should be a lot of fun. Also, I guess, finding out the good plays that maybe were missed, and the reason behind it. But yeah, it's been excellent. The atmosphere here is really friendly, and I'm really looking forward to this event.
Yeah, that's right. We have 14 players all around the world. 14 is a little bit of an interesting number. We have 16 originally, but 2 players couldn't make it. But let's go ahead and take a look at how this weekend will actually break down. We've got $10,000 on the line and some World Championship points, which is also, according to Lothar, even more important than the money. Is that right?
Yeah, the honor.
The honor. It's the glory. It's what players are playing for, as well as some good pocket change. 5,000 for first, 2,500 for second, 1,250 for third and fourth. And top 8, they don't really get money, but they get some points. And at least you need 2 to play in the LCQs for the World Championship.
That's
so there's
true.
Definitely a nice grab there. Now, keep in mind that the groups will be dual elimination, similar to how some people from fans of StarCraft will call it GSL or WCS format. And we have 2 players who advance from each of them into the top 8.
Yeah, that's true. So 2 groups will be 3-man groups because of the 2 players that didn't make it. So that was Pavel and Frixius from Greece. And those players are giving out basically forfeits by default for the players in their groups. So they have easier time to advance, but it still be a hard battle for the 3 players to actually make it out.
Yeah, so, Lothar pretty much summarized it, did my job for me. But, just in case people don't really understand, we have 2 groups that have 3 players, just because 2 players disqualified and forfeit. They couldn't make it to the event. So groups A and D have 3 players only, which means the chances of advancing to their group jump significantly for these players. Only
so.
1 player is not going to advance. The first match of the day will be Firebat versus Zozus, because Zozus beat Kroba in the first match.
Yeah.
And then Firebat's first opponent was not able to come. So that's the winner's match. And then we're going to decide throughout the rest of the group who's going to be eliminated today.
So the world champion got the win by default, so we can say
that's right.
Pretty lucky.
World Championship privileges, but not really. That's just how it conveniently worked out. Right?
Yeah.
Firebat's also the reigning champion. You were here last time, Kaldi. How'd that go?
Yeah, he actually played against Zozus in the final and ended up winning 4-1. But it was really exciting. So we're going to see the replay of the final now in the first match. Zozus played excellent throughout the entire tournament, but unfortunately got a bit nervous in the last match. So I think we'll be very excited to see him more relaxed now. This is going to be the first match of the day. So I think he'll do really well. It could be an exciting match. I think also, even though there are only 3 players in 2 of the groups, those 2 groups are incredibly stacked. So there's no, I guess there's a slight benefit, but still, wouldn't be easier than the other 4-mans, You
know what I think? The as you said, those groups are stacks, the 3-man groups, but also it's important that when you're in a position, when it's really bad to not advance from that group, the nerves are getting wrecked so hard, and most of those players are not so comfortable.
Racked, not wrecked, right? Is that what you're saying? You're racking up the intensity builds up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the problem with those players that they're not maybe so experienced when it comes to playing on huge stages, so this might be a problem for them.
Well, yeah, not for Firebat, or maybe even Zozus. He's been here before.
Yeah, but you know, it's like his second event.
Yeah, it's true. As you guys saw, though, it's not necessarily the traditional setup that you are accustomed to. A lot of tabletop games you play face to face in a way, or at least close proximity. These guys are in different isolation booths because Gfinity, of course, hosts lots of other great events every weekend. In fact, tournaments for all kinds of games. So they're in 5v5 man isolation soundproof booths. For one guy, they're surrounded by admins, and of course, this is in a movie theater here. Gfinity has the first dedicated esports arena in the United Kingdom, so it's really cool to even be here in the Cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually in a pretty nice mall. They've taken care of us really well. And we're going to take care of you guys. If you guys are looking for some good Hearthstone action, it's going to be really fun here. Same thing as we've come to expect over the past couple events. Best of 5 conquest, as far as I know. No bans, unlike some tournaments. C-Story was experimenting with that.
C-Story Cup was trying out the ban system, and the players were had really mixed up feelings. Yeah. For someone was really important to get the ban because it made the format so much complicated. But on the other hand, it feels detached from the ladder experience.
I've also heard the argument that it makes it more random, I suppose, if you can ban that class. And I remember before that we always banned Hunter, and had just made all the decks, I guess, less defensive, you know, because you could just cut out the zombie charge.
You can be more greedy.
Yeah, and that also detached it because you had to put the zombie charge back in for ladder. So the ladder decks and the tournament decks were really different, I suppose. So the ladder practice didn't help as much, I'd say.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Well, that's not going to be happening here, where we're having pretty standard format for you guys. Let's take a look at the schedule as well to see what the order of matches that will be happening today. We're going to start off with Firebat versus Zozus in Group A. Then we have Life Coach versus Bunny Muffin from Group C. That's a player that we were talking about maybe keep an eye on both ends. The open qualified player, Buddy Muffins, which I have a lot to talk about, and then, of course, your teammate, Life Coach, Lothar.
Yeah, well, I will be kind of biased in this match, but I will try to be as not
Thank
so
God you're
obvious.
Not Group C will also be staying there. We have Reynad versus Tang. Tang comes from Korea. And we know Reynad, of course. We've got plenty to say about him. But in case you guys haven't known, Reynad is definitely feeling unprepared as usual for this tournament.
Well, that's nothing new.
Yeah, he's been traveling
a lot. Water is still wet.
He's been traveling a lot, actually. I was talking to him earlier, and he's just been feeling exhausted for a long time now, coming from Germany.
Yeah, plenty of eye twitching will be happening in that series. And of course, we go straight to the winners match. We're going to be deciding a lot of players here because it's day one. It's a 2-day event here at Gfinity because we're going to be wrapping up things on Sunday. But it's a pretty quick event, fast and furious. And if you can't keep up, well,
we can go to the other room to watch it.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's just pretty close proximity. So lots of good stuff here. Like we said, the first match of the day will be Firebat versus Zozus. Before we go a little bit too much in that pre-match, who are some of the other players that we should be looking out for? Because there are 14 of them here.
I think Life Coach will be definitely the first one. He's been dominating the KPL. There's a few others that did really well before. I think Movic, for example, making it to the qualifier will definitely be someone to look out for.
Movic from Sweden. That's right. In fact, Sweden's actually well represented in this tournament. There's 6-7 players here.
Yeah, we were talking about this before we went on the broadcast, like live broadcast, and it feels like Sweden has the fundamentals that the players have to get to be. To go into esports, like the support from the government, from the organizations, from their parents. It's different. I think it's different in Sweden and other countries. The esports there is basically more developed than other countries.
Yeah, you know, being able to have the good internet for one thing, like some. But you know, usually Hearthstone isn't that important for internet, but just being able to have that access to like have that internet culture. They have DreamHack there, they have like esports SM and all that kind of stuff. So really cool to see a lot of those Swedish players come through. I do know that Orange struggled a little bit yesterday. In fact, is he out of the tournament?
Yeah, he's
already?
out.
Yeah, we had some tournament games yesterday just to make sure that the process is able to go through pretty speedily. Through today, we're not going to be like jamming across different things. So we'll keep you guys updated on scores and reports also here in the analysis corner. Real quick, before we go into the first match, I know the casters will talk about it, but do you have any predictions for our first match, Firebat versus Zozus?
I'm actually going to lean on Zozus taking it, this one 3-2. It's going to be really close, though, I think.
Okay,
well, 3-2 for Zozus.
I think we'll see a rematch. So from the last finals,
I think we'll see a rematch too. That's a pretty bold prediction, Lothar.
Yeah, but
you mean the exact same result?
the exact same result,
So
but
Firebat
within a
taking
best
it
of 5.
down.
So 3-1 for Firebat. Yeah.
I'm just jabbing, man. Yeah, I can't doubt the world champion. Firebat was telling me at Steve's story he felt a little deflated because he wasn't ever featured on the mainstream.
That's
he
true.
loves the adrenaline. He really likes the idea that people are watching him, and he wants to put on a show. So I'm not going to doubt against Firebat this time around. He looks like he's in good spirits. So I think it's
my idea, at least, is that for Zozus, because he has a ton of information you can study on Firebat, but Firebat has almost no information except what happened last tournament. And now there's been all these new Black Rock Mountain cards, and Firebat's been traveling while Zozus has been kind of having more time to practice, I suppose.
That's
so I think that might be swinging in his favor. But obviously Firebat has a lot more experience on the main stage, so nerves won't be as big of a problem. So it's going to be a really exciting match. So I think it'll be really close, this one.
Yeah, you made the prediction with your mind. I made it with my heart. So I'm more of an emotional pick. I admit it. Yours makes total sense though, and that probably could be why Zozus takes the first match. So that wraps up our pre-tournament analysis. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll be back soon, so don't miss us too much. We'll definitely miss you. We're gonna give it over to Nimsh and Ananbo, who was ready for our first match.
Thank you so much, guys. It's Nimsh Admirable, and we'll be casting the games for you. We are so excited here. Firebat versus Zozus, the rematch. Oh, man.
It's not just a rematch. This is a revenge match for Zozus. I can tell you, he definitely wants to take this one down right here. It's actually a pretty important match, too. First match of the tournament always kind of sets the tone for you going forward. So, I mean, those guys had some good predictions over there. Actually, Caldi's is really interesting to me. He actually predicted he went 3-2, and kind of looking at these matches they're going to play. Firebat's actually coming with Rogue, Mage, and Warlock, and Zozus. He's got Druid, Mage, and Shaman. So, kind of initially, I feel like he's got his work cut out for him. Something like, Firebat really tends to bring aggressive decks, and it looks to me like, Druid and Shaman can sometimes struggle against that aggression. I'm curious exactly how he's going to be able to weather that storm.
Well, on the other hand, last time Firebat actually won with Freeze Mage, so he was playing Freeze Mage versus Zozus, and Zozus has this very interesting Shaman deck with Cult Master that we've seen offline yesterday. I talked to Zozus a bit, and he says that right now he's really confident in his decks, and he actually won versus Kroba yesterday. So right now this is the winners final of the group. Whoever wins this will advance to top 8. Whoever loses will have to face Kroba to fight.
Yeah, it's one of those 3-player groups. Again, someone couldn't show up, so they got to roll through it and kind of go with the punches here. But yeah, I think it is really unique and sort of to how this one's working out too. I mean, is Zozus, is he feeling some nerves, especially coming into this one? Again, this is his second time playing against Firebat. Now, does this easier for him, or is it more difficult knowing that he lost the last one and he lost it by a pretty significant amount? I think it was 4-1.
I think this time took it. For Zozus it will be definitely easier. Like the first time he was here, it was his first LAN event. He was really nervous. He wasn't sure of his decks. He was tired after the travel. And right now, he was in the final. He knows that he can do it. Like he defeated Amaz. He played versus Firebat. I think he also played versus Forsen, if I remember correctly.
He went through a stack bracket pretty much the whole way through. Yeah,
definitely. So it grows on you. Like you basically gain experience, and then facing Firebat for a second time, you're actually happy that you have a chance to fight versus the world champion and show, hey, I have this lineup, I prepared it for you, and I can actually defeat you.
Well, happy to face the world champion. Maybe maybe happy that he has another chance to beat him. I don't think me personally, I don't want to play against the best players in round 1. No, absolutely not.
It's really thrilling, to face the best players in the world and be able to win versus them.
Now, if you're playing Druid and you get lucky the whole way through, that's great, man. I would love to play some best players. That if I have any decisions I have to make, that's when I don't want to play against the best players that are out there. Now, in truth, though, Zozus, he played pretty well last time. Again, I think the matchups really are what stuck him in the finals of that one. And again, I'm curious exactly how this matchup's going to work here. Because like you said, his Shaman deck's got a Cult Master, and that's really indicative of the fact that he wants to be fighting a lot of mid-range battles. And same thing with Druid. Druid is it's not going to win very well unless it puts together like some Keep of the Groves, Wrath, stuff like that against the really aggressive decks. He's looking to try to play grindy matchups.
I believe he has a Harrison as well.
Yeah.
And Firebat is running Rogue, right?
Yeah, he's got a Rogue in his lineup. Again, he's Mage and Warlock, his other 2 classes. It really does depend on how it's built because, we saw last time he had 2 really aggressive decks. He had Face Hunter in his matchup. And like you said, the Mage deck was Freeze. And just suddenly, everything's thrown for a loop now.
Definitely.
Is he doing that same thing again?
Well, I would expect Firebat doing something else, but it also depends what he played at Seed Story Cup, because Firebat is a person that actually mixes things around and brings different lineups depending on tournaments. But on the other hand, maybe he didn't have enough time to prepare with the new decks after Seed Story Cup.
Yeah. I mean, all the traveling. He told me the other day he was back in the States for 19 hours before having to get back on a plane and fly right back here. But game 1 is about to get underway between Zozus and Firebat. Cannot wait. Let's
oh man, I'm so excited. Let's see the new cards from BRM, the Gang Boss, and
oh, that's right.
Yeah, like we have the new meta game right now.
Yeah, Blackrock Mountain. They actually, I'm pretty sure they could have submitted cards from this week's wing of Blackrock Mountain as well.
The last one.
Yeah, with Dragon Consort, and I actually don't even remember what the other cards in the wing were.
The new wing, they could submit the decks for for tomorrow, I think. Like today, they can't play the new wing.
Okay.
But still, really exciting. So the players decided to play Firebat starts with the Rogue, and Zozus gets his Mage deck.
Yeah, this is actually kind of interesting because, you know, this looks to me like it looks like a Mech Mage deck, except I see this Polymorph, and then of course you see Sludge Belcher, and this obviously is not a Mech Mage deck anymore. So this is going to be some sort of Tempo Mage, and then within that, it's really. You know, this is a list that can change a lot of different slots in it and still be rather successful.
Oh yeah, definitely.
On both sides of the board.
I believe he's running Counterspell as well, so he has lots of secrets as a Tempo Mage, and if he curves out, he can really snowball here.
You got a better glimpse of this deck yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you know all the secrets he has in there, or did you see very much of the deck?
I don't know all the secrets. I've seen Counterspell, and there was a matchup. Tempo Mage versus Freeze Mage from Kroba. He played Counterspell. Kroba thought it's Mirror Entity. He played a Doomsayer, and then he played Frost Nova into that Counterspell. So Counterspell ended up winning the whole game and the whole match actually.
That's cool.
But right now there is no secrets. There is this Mad Scientist, which is actually good. Like you don't want to have secrets in your hand when you get Mad Scientist on board. How do you think this matchup fans out like for the Rogue and the Mage? Who is an edge?
Well, this is, you know, Tempo Mage again, I assume it's kind of like a Tempo Mage deck. I mean, again, you see Polymorph and Unstable Portal, kind of gives you an idea. It's really going to depend on how this deck gets rolling, because if it gets rolling in sort of like a bad position, say, for instance, it just doesn't really have much to do in the mid game, you know, it doesn't draw Water Elemental or something like that, and say Sludge Belcher's relatively easily dealt with. Those are the kinds of moves that you're looking for where I feel like the Mage is going to have a big advantage, and then, you know, something like this, and we do see it's Counterspell. I mean, for instance, that Counterspell could be so key with this, like Mana Worm, Unstable Portal this turn, or even coining a Pilot Shredder. Suddenly, both of those become so much harder to deal with because stuff like Deadly Poison and Backstab are not going to be happening.
Oh yeah, that's really important actually. Like countering the Deadly Poison might force Firebat to use the Eviscerate. Oh man!
My gosh,
that's a big tree you're seeing there.
Or Riot.
It's very interesting. Like, what do you think about the play Mana Worm instead of the Pilot Shredder?
Oh, I think the Mana Worm is far superior. You're saving a coin this way. You're getting the Mana Worm rolling. You're getting to use your Unstable Portal. And just everything sort of. So, despite the fact that Counterspell used here, Firebat still has a way to get around this. So, as I said, on board, let's take out Mana Worm, but
it's time for the big guys.
This is not going to be an easy one to deal with.
Well, I have to say that this Druid card is excellent in Mage, especially with the 4 points of mana. I mean, actually Shredder.
Yeah, this is sort of interesting. I'm guessing what his game plan is. He actually wants damage to be invested into stuff like Pilot Shredder and Sludge Belcher, and hope that Ancient War is more of like a closeout card.
Yeah, like exhaust the resources of Firebat, like using saps and stuff on the Pilot Shredder instead of the big one.
Now, sort of the problem with this is, wow, Firebat's actually going to go face here.
Firebat is really aggressive with his plays.
Yeah,
like, most of the time.
What do you think about this? Because when he does this, he's 100% getting the Aggro Ray. He's using 4 points of damage. And a Rubian Egg, outside of double Mana Knives or a Blade Flurry, that's going to kind of sit there for a while.
Oh yeah, the Rubian Egg is not doing much, but still, I like going for Fates there because you do deal 3 points of damage and you ensure that the Pilot Shredder is getting a minion on the player's turn. So if you would go into Pilot Shredder and get something with 4 attack, like a 4-1, you still lose your Azure Drake.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. It certainly can backfire. Just picks up a Backstab.
I'm trying to assess like the situation here with so many taunts, and it seems like Mage will be able to defend, but this Mage is really aggressive the last time I've seen it, like with Mana Worms. Azure Drake is definitely a good card, but not right now. 5-10 is getting dropped.
Look at this. He's actually going to ping his own Rubian Egg.
Wow.
Yep. I'm so used to seeing that card in Warlock that I have never thought about hero powering your own Rubian Egg.
Yeah, it's a lot better in Mage, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, he picks up Sap, so that's actually one of the better draws in the deck, I would say.
And Firebat is playing Deckhand. That's a card that's not always in Rogue decks.
It certainly has its place. I think it's one of the better ones that's out there. I wonder if he's actually trading here. If he's going crazy yet. I mean, we just saw him go face.
Yeah.
In a situation where he had not a great trade, but a relatively valuable one. And so in this spot, does he want to protect his Violet Teacher?
I think he does.
Yeah, because if he protects his Violet Teacher in this spot, he's also, you know, he's also giving his opponent 2 extra mana because Zozus would be committed to using that hero power there, which means he's not going to play the Ancient of War again. So when he does it this way, does he actually want his opponent to play an Ancient of War? And is he using this South Sea deckhand again to try to grab that 2 mana back?
Oh, definitely. Right now, like, Firebat just wants to get with the board. I think he doesn't have to be afraid of Flame Strike or Blizzard.
I'm actually really surprised that he played the South Sea deckhand here because, you know, he's got to think about Mirror Entity. He has a Tinker Sharpshooter in his hand that he would want to activate. Obviously, you want to get the combo with it rather than not. That's really curious to me. Oh my gosh.
Normally, you could think about like getting the deckhand and activating the combos for the Tinker Sharpshooter Oil. But
yeah,
he has that Eviscerate, even though Eviscerate is like only 2 points of mana. All right, so here for Firebat, like you want, are you committed to go for face now, or do you keep trading? Like if Firebat keeps trading, it will be.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good question. I mean, this is part of the reason why I would have liked to see him save the Tinker Sharpshooter in this spot, because now in order to activate, he's got to use an Eviscerate, like if he wants to use this. And if the Eviscerate is that, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it not being pointless when he loses a combo this way. He doesn't get his combo activated. I mean, granted, he would have been able to Eviscerate had he done it this way. Oh gosh, and now does he trade here? And then if he's giving up a really easy target on
even if
Tinker Sharpshooter,
if he buffs like whatever he buffs, it's actually going to die to the hero power.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, this has just been like a successful grind, I think, for Zozus. He's had so much stuff, and he's still got this Ancient War in his hand. And, you know, Firebat, he's got to even save the dagger here in hopes to draw something like a big Blade Flurry. He needs to draw Sprint.
The last time we saw Firebat in this situation, I think it was in the final, he actually top decked Sprint. Do you think Sprint?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's how you actually win this matchup. You need cards.
It's almost like you like found your center and focused your chi, and you're like, you know what, I'm Nimsh, and he's going to draw Sprint.
It's like, I'm Nimsh, and this is Firebat, the world champion, and this is how you win.
That is, I mean, there's no Blade Flurry
I'm stunned.
yet, though. There's no Blade Flurry yet.
Yeah, he didn't get it.
He's still got to draw.
Yeah, but still, this is much better than it was before.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just Fun of Knives and
the Tinker Sharpshooter. He draws like I don't know, what would be the worst draw in his deck right now? Like, what would be the actual, like a second South Sea deckhand would be like the worst draw in there.
Possibly. But nobody plays two of them. I wonder if he plays Dr. Boom and Torison. Like I've seen yesterday, I think Powder and Orange, they were running Torison, Dr. Boom, and those and the Rogues.
Yeah, it's it's really interesting that you mentioned that. Like, how many slots do you have to fit? Like, I don't understand where those are being fit in. And when he's got South Sea Deckhand in here, and you also see Lotheb, I mean, this has also been a trim that I've seen kind of common on some ladder decks. Like, where does the Emperor and the Dr. Boom fit in? Like, are they cutting a sprint? Are they?
No, they are cutting. Like, it's actually funny because they play double sprint still, because Torison actually has a synergy with sprints and Doom. I think they're cutting Violet Shredders, and then they are just running double Violet Teacher, and maybe Edwin. Like the deck is a bit different.
Look at this turn. He's got a 6-point dagger sitting there.
Yeah, doing nothing.
When you're in Zozu's spot here, like, how worried are you about Blade Flurry? And you're like, oh god, please don't have it, please don't have it.
Well, definitely worried.
How nervous are you in that seat?
You want your own board, and right now Firebat might be forced to attack into one of the Drakes to like mitigate some damage.
I mean, this is 12 damage he's looking at.
Yeah, like, do you kill the Drake? It is spell damage, so the Fireball or like Frostbolt is going to deal a lot more. But then again, how many cards are left in his deck? Like, how many times have I said like he needs Blade Flurry? Like the Rogue needs Blade Flurry now to win this match.
I mean, that seems like a very key thing in pretty much every single one of these decks. Is Blade Flurry just always needs to be there. Yeah, this is looking really bad for Firebat right now.
Well, he still has the Farseer, he still has Lothar, but he doesn't have any taunts.
Yeah, the
There's
issue...
the Flame Strike, by the way.
Yeah, the big issue here is going to be, not only is it, like, there's no efficient way to deal with these 4-2s right now, and he's also going to have to face down, well, now it's going to be Duplicate. I mean, he had the option for Ancient War here, but I actually really like this Duplicate because everything here becomes so inconvenient to kill, and Firebat has made it pretty apparent that he actually can't kill your stuff. So you don't really need to commit anything to a position like this.
Also, it's important that if there is a Blade Flurry, the first minion to die will be the first minion that was played, right? So like Duplicate will actually...
Yeah, if everything dies at the same time, whatever was in play...
So Azure Drake is getting Duplicate.
Right.
Yeah. A pretty smart play by Zozus. Firebat trying to stay alive, getting back to 16.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to get Flame Struck this turn. I think that's really important.
Well, Firebat is not that yet. Even like if there is... Wait, this is 8, 10. If there's a Fireball top deck, it's actually over. Even with Lothar.
Wow, look at that. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he has to sap that.
That is so brutal. How many times have you ever sapped a 4-2 Azure Drake? I think it's gonna be like the worst feeling sap
I've seen worse saps. I've seen people sapping a Leper Gnome, and that was painful for sure as well. But yeah, Firebat in a weird spot. I think like Zozus knowing the double sap is out of the way, he can just play this Druid now. Ancient of War. It's a 5/10. And you know what? Like even though Firebat didn't get the Blade Flurry, if he gets a Blade Flurry next turn, or if he gets an hour sprint and gets Blade Flurry out of it.
Yeah, I mean, a Blade Flurry would just be insane. I mean, he has Tinker Sharp Swordle in his hand, so you're looking at a 9-point Blade Flurry if he draws that.
It's so crazy. Like, this game is super close still. Whoa. So, Zozus is thinking about the play. How are you enjoying London?
Oh, it's been great so far, actually. I'm surprised how well I remember my way around. You know, I directions and names and birthdays are like always something I can never remember.
It's really cool that there are English signs, right? Like whenever you go, you can actually talk English, and everybody understands
that's normal for me. I mean,
oh,
you know, I don't like go to like grocery store in Texas and like a guy speaks French only.
Dude, I'm so envious. Like in Poland, I walk around, I talk English to people, and they don't know what I'm talking about. So I have to switch to Polish.
You talk English to me, I don't know what you're talking about half the time. He's gonna hurry up here. It looks like Emperor. You know, it's pretty tough to disagree with Emperor. He's not really under a big threat of lethal. He's actually even going to favor clearing here, so he's hedging his bets against the top deck Blade Flurry. It's pretty obvious it's not there. But he's also got the Duplicate down still, too. So Firebat, even if he kills this stuff, he's got a difficult time dealing with just the duplicated things. Because, again, he's invested so much damage into all these other minions. How does he actually deal with this Ancient of War once it hits the board? Because look at this turn 10. Look what Emperor's done to this. He's got Ancient War and Azure Drake next turn, or even Azure Drake and Flame Strike. So he's going to be able to handle pretty much any amount of pressure that's thrown at him. And at the same time, he's kind of deflecting attacks that Rogue will typically have, which is blow up all your minions, then get a big board and try to kill you.
On the other hand, the Duplicate is going to work on an... Oh, is he actually going to kill... Torisan? What would you rather see duplicated here as Firebat? Would you like to give double Torisan? Or did he check for another counterspell?
Well, I mean, it's obviously not Mirror Instinct. It's got to be duplicate. I think he wants him to have Thorisons in his hand, honestly. Like, I think he wants his hand to be cluttered, so that way he has time to try to actually beat what's going on here.
Oh man, this Azure this Mana Worm is going to kill.
Gosh. This is just, I mean, just the Flame Strike's gonna kill everything.
Yeah, Flame Strike is actually killing everything. That's so sick.
Wow.
That's Torisan. That's the power of Torisan that's actually warping the game a bit. Like, it's warping the concepts. Because normally you would think, like, hey, Flame Strike, 7 mana.
Anti-kill, but
nothing
where
else.
are these Blade Flurry? Is that 6 cards left in his deck? He still hasn't drawn a Blade Flurry. Is he only running 1, maybe?
Is there a possibility? Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's running 2. Like, sometimes it happens that the cards are stacked on the bottom of your deck. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's got 5 cards left and he still hasn't seen a Blade Flurry.
Well, Firebat needs another sprint or a Blade Flurry. This weapon is just sitting there doing nothing for so many turns already. And
yeah,
Zozus' full hand.
That's also a good point too, is that that's actually been kind of a liability of his weapon sitting there because he hasn't been getting able to get his hero power. And granted, that's only a few points of damage, but you know, 4 or 5 points of damage over the course of the game, that's like that's an entire fireball.
It matters.
You're otherwise not doing anything basically.
Well, Firebat is on the brink of defeat here with the Fireball for 2 mana.
I think he's honestly, like, I don't even think he would mind seeing something sprint here. And he's got Emperor.
That's a
Still
blank.
no
I
Blade Flurry.
think that's actually it. Like, he has to kill one of those minions. And then
Yeah,
it's
I
7, and Fireball is 6, 7 hero power. Zozus is going to take game number 1 versus Firebat with his mage versus rogue. Locking his mage, because we are playing Conquest here.
Yeah. So honestly, this is actually, I think, one of the matchups that Zozus was looking for. I would tend to say that this kind of mage deck is going to do pretty well versus rogue. And then you couple that with the fact that maybe Firebat didn't find the cards he was looking for. And there you have it. That's game 1. So Zozus got to be feeling good after picking up the first one.
Revenge time, definitely. That was looking incredible, and I'm really curious why Firebat brought Rogue. Like, I know he plays a lot of Rogue, but still, we've seen a lot of Rogues in this tournament. Like, Orange played a Rogue, Powder played Rogue, and
well, you know, seeing Orange and Firebat play Rogue, it's not going to be like too uncommon. Rogue is, you know, we were asking some of the open qualifiers here about their favorite classes were, and it was just almost every single time it was Rogue. I feel like the best is Rogue. I definitely want to play Rogue.
Everybody loves
And then,
Rogue.
of course, you know, those guys being on the same team, then playing Rogue.
I was mostly thinking it's because Valeera has like such a nice art, and like when I'm asking people like, what's your favorite class, and they go through the portraits, they're like, Garrosh? No, like he's ugly. Like, then, you know,
that's mean.
Malfurion?
I don't think Garrosh is very ugly. I think he's a handsome, outstanding gentleman. That's what I think.
Really?
I think you're being rude. But yeah, Rogue.
All right, stay with Garrosh. I'm taking Valeera, and
I may be getting the short end of the stick there. Yeah, so his mage is going to be locked, of course. Like you said, this is Conquest. So now it's Rogue, Mage, and Warlock for Firebat versus Druid and Shaman for Zozus. Which one of these matchups do you think that he wants to get most?
He has to get a win with Druid, and Druid versus Rogue is really tricky. Druid versus Warlock is, depending on a Warlock, I would say Firebat is going to bring Zoo. Like, Firebat is a player that really likes aggro decks, and he excels at playing Zoo. He was trying different Zoo builds before, like after GVG. It didn't really work, but right now with Gang Boss, that's a possibility.
Yeah, we've kind of seen a resurgence of Zoo. I noticed on the ladder the past couple days, it was, you know, I hadn't played against a Zoo deck in almost 2 months. And then suddenly it was every single Warlock deck I played was a Zoo deck. And I was kind of like, what's going on here? And kind of, you know, started watching some streams, checking out what's going on, and I started seeing like this double Sea Giant Zoo deck floating around. And I was like, what on earth is going on? And it is no joke, man. Getting Imp Gang Boss and following like with like Implosion Sea Giant, that's like a real thing that happens.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely possible. And I think like there is also room for improvement in the deck. People just need to experiment with it. Maybe, you know, bringing Void Callers and Mal'Ganis also, because you have a lot of demons.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's really cool about Zoo right now, too, is that you have a couple different options with it. Like, you can play this really, really aggressive route where you're trying to just outright kill your opponent as fast as you possibly can. But then you also have, like, these slower value routes where you can utilize Void Caller to really give you an edge in this minion trading battle, because that's something that Zoo does very well, is trade early to mid-game minions. And as it starts going to late, what it's hoped to have done by that point is have enough board that you can just kind of push for a win and your opponent doesn't have a way to efficiently stabilize through it. But something like Void Caller really gives you a big edge in a situation like that. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think that Druid here, he's got to get a win with it. So, you know, being up a game might be his most comfortable position to like, okay, well, I can take a little bit of a bad matchup, and hopefully that it comes through with me, because again, you know, he's got to win with all 3 of them. I would like to see his Druid here, and sort of akin to the way that Conquest always seems to be the person who lost, just queues up the deck that they just lost with again. But game 2 is getting underway here, and you know.
Oh, this is the Shaman deck.
Yeah, Shaman that's actually in Zozus' lineup. So these are a little bit flipped around. We'll get that fixed as quickly as possible.
Zozus is going to play the Shaman versus Firebat's Rogue. Firebat just trusting, and he needs a win with Rogue. Like, there's no point in changing it right now.
This is a really clunky opening hand for Zozus too. That Manatide Totem makes this a little bit better, I would say. But, you know, having Big Game Hunter and Neptulon in your opening hand, these are 2 cards that are really not going to be very good versus Rogue. This is a matchup, though, that typically I would say is pretty good for Rogue in general.
Well, yesterday we've seen a situation where LB Dutch Boy actually thought the same thing. Like, I have this Big Game Hunter versus Rogue, I'm never going to use it. So he played Big Game Hunter, and then Powder in his Rogue responded with Dr. Boom, and he was like, well played. So, everything can happen. We haven't seen Dr. Boom for Firebat, and I don't think he's playing one because he had the deckhand, so he has the more like the faster version of the Rogue. But then for Zozus here, you know, Feral Spirit on turn 2.
Yeah, this is actually a little interesting because he's not going to be able to follow with a totem, and obviously it's locking his turn 3, so when he makes his play, he's pretty heavily committed to turn 4 Pilot Shredder, but I don't think there's a problem with this. You know, if he doesn't, you know, how is Firebat going to clear this? Does he want to just dagger? If he uses dagger and deadly poison, it means he's not getting a minion on the board. If he's got something like backstab SI7 agent, you really almost never have a way to play around that efficiently, so you kind of just got to throw caution to the wind with that. But if he does something, this is kind of the turn I think he's actually looking for, is in one of his worst case scenarios, which is deadly poison. He's denying his opponent the ability to play a 3-drop. I mean, say Firebat just doesn't have one, but I think in Zozus' mind, this is a minor victory.
Yeah, I think it's like a win-win situation for Zozus. Like, he plays the first spirit. If there is no deadly poison, it's the great situation for him. Even if there is the deadly poison, as you said, he knows that one deadly poison goes away. But we can see that Firebat actually has another one. He has a lot of spells. Like, Firebat is missing minions, and minions are really important at the beginning of the game for the rogue to deal with early damage.
I was just about to mention, we noticed that he has a very distinct lack of things to put on the board in this game. So just gonna go deadly poison again, and I can't blame him. This damage is gonna start adding up, and the longer this kind of situation goes on, the more likely it is that I think Zozus gets himself into a winning position, because time is what he needs. He needs to be able to get to these Neptulon turns really cleanly. He needs to get some value out of this Mana Tide Totem. You know, again, just the longer that this goes on, I think the better it is for Zozus, to a certain point, of course. You know, if everything he has gets dealt with, obviously he's going to be looking kind of some
There's
shape.
a Violet Teacher for Firebat. It's really important. Like, he was also running out of the draw. Like, he only had the Fan of Knives, but now with Violet Teacher, he can actually unleash some board. And Zozus doesn't have the Lightning Storm. I'm not sure if he's playing one, actually.
I'd be very surprised here if there was no preparation. Wow, it's actually not prepared. All right, so, I mean, he obviously values the Fan of Knives in combination with something like Azure Drake to be able to sweep out a bunch of totems. Not a huge surprise there, but Violet Teacher is going to get...
Preparation might be also not played because of possible sprint. Like, he might feel like he is behind so much right now that he needs to top deck sprint and then preparation.
He's also hedging his bets versus something like Lightning Storm. He doesn't want to overcommit to his board.
Oh, yeah.
And then have nothing left if that happens post-Lightning Storm.
Well, he's seen Zozus play yesterday, so he knows more or less what's in Zozus' deck.
Well, preparation is going to get used here instead, so Tinker Sharp Sword will play. Oh, look at that Battle Frog. I see. That guy is serious.
Well, whenever there is a Mana Tide, you have to kill it.
Can you? I want to make a comparison here for you. Real quick. SI7 agent, a deadly trained assassin, has 3 power. That frog has 3 power right now. How big do you think that guy is in real life?
That's a really big frog.
4 Murlocs. What are the Murlocs that got him? Is that Cold Light Seer? Is that what that guy's name is? That's the +2 health Murloc, right?
Yes.
Neptulon getting set. That's got to feel awful, by the way. You just paid, was it 3 overload plus 7 mana?
For a card that's getting destroyed for 2.
Yeah.
All right, like, Warrior can destroy the card for 1 with an execute.
Okay. This game got really ugly really fast.
Well, at least there is a Lightning Storm for Zozus, so he has some options. And Firebat is also running out of cards. But then Zozus is only at 11.
Hex is going for the Crackle.
That frog is doing the work.
That was a dangerous Crackle, actually. Imagine if that had rolled 3.
I don't think he had a choice, actually.
So 4 points of damage. That looks like 5. That looks like lethal to me.
4, 6.
Yeah, that's
10.
going to do it. Wow.
Isn't he 1 off?
That game turned around. No. He's got SI7 agent. I'm sorry,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
got Celsius
You got it,
deckhand, SI7 agent. I just saw 2 damage and I'm like, rogue 2 damage, SI7 agent. Yeah, so 1-1 in games here.
Deckhand looks like SI7 a bit, right?
Especially with that long flowing hair and that red bandana tied over his face.
The white shirt.
Indicating that he's a criminal. Yeah, I mean, that's Shaman versus Rogue in a nutshell. Even despite the fact that Firebat opened up pretty poorly with that one, it really doesn't take a lot to get a very big edge in the mid game.
He was able to counter the plays, basically, and just Rogue has so many clears. Like, Fan of Knives, he didn't get the Flurry again, so maybe he's actually not running one.
That's, you know, I would venture to say it's almost impossible for him to not be running a Blade Flurry.
At least one.
Yeah, but one Blade Flurry, you know, again, he got down to 4 cards in his deck in the very first game. We still hadn't seen one yet. So unless there was 2 tucked into those bottom 4 cards, he's probably only running 1.
Yeah.
And
or he's really unlucky with the Blade Flurries.
Because where do you trim cards? You know, he's got Emperor in here. He's still got Lotheb. He's got a South Sea deckhand. And Emperor,
No Boom.
Yeah,
no
we haven't seen Dr. Boom yet.
Was there an Emperor? Well, there was an Emperor.
Yeah,
actually.
we did
we've
see Emperor.
We've seen Emperor.
Like, you have to cut a card for the solid fit. I feel like Hearthstone's like one of the first games that I've ever played on a card game where I would run more than the maximum amount simply so that way I had extra options available to me. You can't do that in Hearthstone. You have to make a cut per card you're playing. So did he cut a Blade Flurry to kind of fit a list of?
Well, he could cut like
really
one Farce here, not running heal bots. So definitely, he had a lot of options. But then
he did have a Farce here.
He had one. Yeah,
he had one Farce here, and he had one heal bot because we saw a heal bot in game 1.
Oh yeah, actually. Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
Firebat is officially playing a 40 cards rogue deck. But we won't see the deck. Like, this deck is now locked. So Firebat is down to his Warlock and Druid.
Warlock and Mage for Firebat
Mage.
versus Druid and Shaman for Zozus here. And so now momentum kind of back in Firebat's corner. You know, tied this game up. It's looking like he's the one where it's like I feel like whoever won has more pressure on picking the right deck.
Oh man, that's the zoo for Firebat.
Oh my gosh, look, that opening hand is not good.
So much power.
Well, so much power, yes, but so much liability also. And look at Zozu's hand. This is exactly the kind of hand you're looking for.
You might want an Innervate, but then you do have this anti-aggro hand. You're definitely
Oh yeah, he's going to be thrilled when he sees this turn 1 play. He's got Hero Power on turn 2 and 3, which is totally fine. He's got Keeper on turn 4 and 5, and then he's got Force of Nature to clean up the rest of the board that's been missing. Look at that, just instantaneously starts chipping away.
Another good 4-drop. So this will be the battle of the war of attrition, kind of. Like, Druid will try to trim the board, and Warlock will try to like set up a board.
Look at this. He's actually going to power Overwhelming to protect this Flame Imp.
That makes sense, actually.
Wow.
So unless Zozus actually top decks a coin or an Innervate. Oh, his swipe is actually
this is some lightning fast play, by the way. These guys are wasting no time.
Well, he didn't have a play, so like...
Not even to consider attacking the Flame Imp with your hero power, though. You did just draw swipe.
I think like just using the Keeper here is
This is
good.
looking really grim for Firebat.
That's why I would not attack the Flame Imp with the Shapeshift, because you know you do play the Keeper.
Put this apple on your head.
Oh man.
I'm curious why that dog is placed in that position. Ah, because he wants to buff the imps. That's why he placed it here. Okay, so this wasn't like a misplacement. He wants the imps to be the one getting buffed because they're the ones that are going to be getting hero power down first. Those are the ones he'd obviously rather attack into minions first as well. Actually makes sense.
For Zozus now, I think just Keeper the Juggler. You want to limit the damage.
That seems like totally the play to me.
And then next turn he will be able to swipe and hero power.
Okay, so yeah, Doomguard getting drawn here is actually pretty interesting because both of these cards in Firebat's hand, I'm guessing he's not too thrilled to see right now.
I think you can definitely play the Doomguard right now. Like, if you don't play the Doomguard, you tap first, but then if you end up with something... Like, you can get the second Doomguard, and that would be bad.
That's exactly the thing, too, is if he starts tapping now, he's delaying the amount of... He starts delaying when this Doomguard ends up getting value, but is that worth it at this point? If he's going to attack this end...
So, what did Firebat see? Like, he knows that this is not the Taunt Druid, right? Or did he see only, like, generic Druid cards?
Yeah, he's going to go for Doomguard. I can't blame him here either. Like, with Power Overwhelming and Iron Beak out in your hand, I think you just kind of throw caution to the wind and be like, you know what? These are not going to get the job done. I need this 6 extra damage right now. I need the pressure this is going to add because this Doomguard's not getting dealt with this turn. It's sticking to the board. So now he's getting at least 11 damage out of his Doomguard so far. So unless he could have turned Iron Beak Owl and Power Overwhelming into 6 extra damage, I think that this is the right play. And so,
that was definitely a correct play here.
Plus, he starts investing into his life taps moving forward here. This is the more I think about it, the more clear it is. That's
the thing. Like, you just set up the board and you have the tempo advantage here. Oh, the Force of Nature is getting used to clear the dog and an imp, and set up a swipe for next turn maybe.
Well. Yeah, I think he's going to just put both in the Doomguard to set up the swipe next turn, so it's a bit of an investment he has to make, but he saves himself 4 points of health this way. And, I certainly don't think he wanted to see Imp Gang Boss hit the board.
Well, you know, it's not like you want to see anything specific here. A second Doomguard will be much more devastating. Savager is a blank for now, so Zozus still trying to defend himself.
Gosh, Imp Gang Boss is really good. This guy's doing some work this game.
So Zozus decides to... What do you think about like swiping the gang boss?
Well, terrible, because you don't kill the... Oh my gosh, that Defender of Argus is actually a really huge draw right now.
It's protecting the gang boss.
It's protecting Gang Boss, it's keeping the Imp out of hero power range, it's making this egg become active. Both Keeper of the Groves have been used.
I think this game is not over, but I think it's over actually. Because Druid will have a lot of trouble.
Yeah, how does he recover from this spot? I mean, every step of the way he's starting to fall behind, he's down to 9 life.
Also, he used double Keeper of the Grove, he used his swipe. He used one for his
two cards a turn? I mean, this is dire straits.
It's very difficult now. Shade of Naxxramas, not really doing much. If you play Druid of the Claw as a taunt, this board is not going to kill the Druid of the Claw. So
that's actually an interesting point, because both the power overwhelmings have been used, and I'm curious how close attention Zozus was paying to those Doomguard discards. Like, does he remember that Ironbeak Owl and that power overwhelming got dished to those? And I think if you remember that, this Druid of the Claw would be much more clear to him.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he has to decide if he wants to Wild Growth or Hero Power.
Well, Wild Growth in here is not the most exciting play.
Yeah,
it does allow you to play Sylvanas Pilot Shard next turn if you go with Druid of the Claw. I'm certain this is what he was thinking about, when he wanted to play Druid of the Claw or Sylvanas. And so this kind of indicates also that he has been paying attention to it, because this is a risk that he's willing to take at this point and say, you know what, I've seen 2 power overwhelmings, I've seen an Ironbeak Owl, I'm okay to play this Sylvanas' turn.
He knows that there is not enough burst.
4
but on the other hand...
That's 7 points right there.
Yeah, and Implosion also, you know, imploding the Shade of Naxxramas, getting your board bigger.
Just get extra stuff. You know, it's funny, I think he actually wants to roll a 3 there.
Yeah, because with 4... But what happens if he rolls 4? And why not play it in a different order?
I think if he rolls 4, he's just okay with holding on to the Abusive Sergeant for an extra turn. So yeah, I actually am not seeing a way to get out of this.
Yeah. Well, not really a good way. Like, even if you steal a minion here.
Let's say you Rastex for 3, run Sylvanas into the 5/5, or into the 4/4, plays Druid of the Claw and Taunt, and then Hero Powers. 6 points of damage gets dealt to Druid of the Claw, and then 3 points of damage gets dealt to you. So you live at 1 that way.
Well, so that's the way to survive for 1 more turn. Can you make a comeback then?
Yeah, that's the other thing too. You actually have to find a way to win after that too. You know, alternatively, if he wraths into swipe.
All right, so he's wrathing the gang boss to stop the imps from being produced.
Oh, he can Black Knight that Nerubian Egg and make a 4/4.
Whoa, whoa. The problem is for him that he can't kill his own Sylvanas. Like, even if he does, he might steal an imp. Wait, this is lethal for him, right?
Yeah, this is certain death. Yeah, so Zozus is just going to give this game up. And wow, even after the double power overwhelming start, and again, sort of the nature of the matchups here, you know, this is such a bad matchup for Druid. Even with 2 Keepers of the Grove and with the swipe, it was just enough resilience for Warlock to get the job done. I mean, Doomguard, again, it was just so much damage that Zozus had to invest in trying to kill these Doomguards, and he's unable to overcome the fact that Firebat's able to draw 2 cards a turn.
That's the mastery of the Zoo deck, because Zoo deck is playing 2 cards at a time, and it's really like asking you a lot of questions. Do you have removal for this? And it seemed like Keepers are cool, but on the other hand, he did Shapeshift on 2, he did Shapeshift on 3.
Yeah.
So if you have an Innervate to set up an early board position, or the Wild Growth to like play Keeper on 3 and then maybe Druid of the Claw on 4, then he might be able to stop the Zoo. But then here we've seen a classical example where Zoo is just playing those minions, and then after emptying his hand, he's just like tapping, so like 2 cards of return without any drawback.
Really surprised that actually power overwhelming on the imp to kill a 2/2 zombie chow was actually such an important play to that game. That's really funny to go back and look at that. Sort of, you know, you're like, oh, Zoo's mindless, so nobody has to think. Well, you got to think sometimes. That play is, I would have been hard pressed, I think, to make a play like that.
So right now, Firebat is down to his mage. He only needs to win with his mage. We don't know which mage is that. This is the... at C3 Cup, I think he played a really weird mage build that actually lost him the series versus Savitz. He got 0-3'd with that mage. Here, maybe he improved it. Maybe he brought a freeze mage again. Maybe he's running a mech mage, which a lot of pro players also favor. And for Zozus, he still needs to get a win with that druid, and he still needs to get a win with that shaman deck. It's really hard to say how they fare against a mage that we don't know what it is.
Yeah, a lot of this mage deck also, it really kind of depends on how he's going to end up getting it built. And, you know, we're going to have to wait and see what's going on. We're actually going to go to a quick commercial break. So, guys, hang tight. Game 4 of Zozus and Firebats coming right up. Firebats on match point. Zozus got some work to do. Come back.
And don't tell me that I need saving. Finally awake and living. Yeah, yeah. The pressure inside was building. I felt under attack. And now my mind's attacked. And I've chosen my path. I've chosen my path.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here, named Admirable. Zozus versus Firebat. Zozus left with his mage. He needs this one win to get the series and advance to top 8. Zozus needs 2 wins. He has Shaman and a Druid, and those decks are not that good versus mage.
Yeah, I would, you know, I kind of made a joke on the break that maybe you might be able to use the deck help builder thing and put together a mage deck. You might be able to beat some Druid and Shaman decks. But in truth, this is, you know, it's looking like a really tough spot for him. I'm guessing he probably, you know, I it's so difficult to imagine him like really winning this match at this point. Again, just his Druid deck is going to line up so poorly for so many different kinds of mages, unless of course it's a freeze mage, which really, I mean, that cracks the whole thing wide open again. Just kind of seeing what we've seen though, we were talking about how this mage deck is going to be built based on whether or not I feel like Firebat wanted to be weak versus warrior, strong versus warrior. And if this is a freeze mage in his lineup, he's going to have warrior, rogue, and freeze mage, so he has two like really, really poor matchups against warrior. And it seems like a deck that you would anticipate being kind of strong coming into this event. For just, you know, it seems like it's good to me. It's got two different dynamics right now. You have the Grim Patron way to go, and you have like a traditional control warrior. So I think it's definitely a strong deck in both those regards. So this being Freeze Mage, if it is Freeze Mage, he's like, you know what, it's okay that I'm weak to warrior. If it's Mech Mage, it's like, he obviously wants to be strong against warrior. And that makes a lot of sense. So if this is Freeze Mage, I think it's really, I think it's so much better for Zozus thing, because Druid is just going to line up so well against that. But if it's not, looking rough.
Well, with Freeze Mage, like the thing you said, it will be bad versus Warrior. Like his lineup will be bad versus Warrior, but Warrior is just one deck. So like if Warrior wins one game, then you're good with the rest of your decks. If this is a Mech Mage, then his lineup will be bad versus anti-aggro. Yep. And we can see it's a Freeze Mage. So Firebat is bringing the same deck that he brought. Well, maybe not exactly the same deck, but basically the same Mage setup.
Yeah, Freeze Mage twice in a row. He actually kept Alexstrasza in his opening hand too, which is really interesting to me. And look at that, Lotheb right away for Zozus, one of the best cards in the deck versus Freeze Mage.
Well, but on the other hand, you kind of want to keep Lotheb for Alexstrasza. Like, it is important later, so if you play it early...
Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to play it early. That's such an important card to have. And look at that, a Piloted Shredder, one of the best cards he could pick up right here on turn 4. Keeper of the Grove might have been a little bit better, but I think he's pretty happy with this one.
Well, at least we know that Harrison Jones is not going to do much in this matchup. So, what is this matchup about? Like, Freeze Mage obviously wants to get the combo parts. They want to set up a nice block, play Alexstrasza, and then burst their opponents. And how can Druid win it? How can Druid win this matchup?
Pressure is the name of the game for Druid. As long as they can get consistent pressure out on the field, that's when it ends up mattering. This is actually a very common attack that I see, is people kind of running these Pilot Shredders into Acolyte's Pain. And Frank, I don't really like it that much, honestly. I think I would tend to favor the 4 extra damage, let my opponent go ahead and attack. Because let's say, what's going to happen on this? He's going to ping his Acolyte and run it in? I'm okay with that. He's already got a ton of cards in his hand anyway. You're not really fighting a card advantage battle. You're just trying to get pressure out, and then you're trying to like hit a Lotheb at the correct timing. If you get a well-timed Lotheb, it's so difficult for Freeze Mage to get you.
But on the other hand, you know, it's that Freeze Mage really needs the cards, and we can see right now Firebat doesn't have any card draw, so he's dependent on what he gets. He doesn't have that many cards in his hand as well. So if Zozus is able to pressure now after losing that 4 points of damage, the quality of plays from Firebat might not be that great.
Yeah, so looking for a couple different draws here. Oh, Fireball's actually a good one. He can play Doomsayer, and he can Fireball the Sylvanas, and that's going to 100% steal the Doomsayer and make it happen. And look at that.
Oh, man. The plays from the world champion. Giving. He gives and takes. Firebat gives the Doomsayer and then takes the whole board. Aww.
Oh, gosh. Being a Doomsayer has to just be in such an awful life.
Well, he knew it. Like when he signed for it.
What? Like, who grew up was like, you know what, I want to be a Doomsayer when I grow up?
Nobody, I guess. But then somebody has to spread, you know, the Doom. And say like, hey, Doom is happening, yo. Everything is going to explode.
He's like, yo, man, end's coming. Y'all need to watch out for it.
The world ends. But then again, like right now with Doomsayer being handed over, like with Sylvanas and with Mirror Entities also, like, you know, hey, you want a Doomsayer? Everybody can have a Doomsayer.
Just giving them out.
Right.
Being a Doomsayer and a Piloted Shredder has to be like one of the worst feelings in the world. You know, as soon as your mech stalls, like the end of the world is about to happen.
Well, at least Piloted Shredder is standing there for a couple more turns, and Doomsayer is just going to meet his doom right now. Meet the Wrath. No Doom is happening.
Nice block set. Black Knight he's got Harrison and Black Knight in this deck. That's actually really interesting to me because Black Knight is pretty much just fallen out of favor in most of the Druid decks I've seen. I haven't seen this card in the deck in,
oh yeah,
I don't know
like,
how long.
It really depends on the metagame. Like this is a metagame card. Like if you assess the metagame is running a lot of taunts, you do play Black Knight. But then looking at Firebat's hand right now, it's not that great. There is only this Blizzard, some Burst,
I think this hand's looking fine. I mean, he's got turn 9 Alexstrasza, and then he's got 17 points of damage to follow that up. I mean, that's... He doesn't really need too terribly much. He's going to eat 5 points of damage this turn, but then he has multiple ways to stall. I think this hand's looking great.
Oh, actually you're right. Like, he has all the combo parts. And the secret is the Ice Block, right?
Yeah, see, playing this Ancient Lore right here, this could actually end up hurting him too, because... Again, he's not thinking about Alexstrasza and 17 points of burst afterwards. He's looking at how do I get this game rolling. And when he's got Zombie Chow and Black Knight and Lotheb in his hand, he wants to hold a Lotheb. Black Knight's not as efficient in terms of options as something like the Ancient Allure is.
Well, the thing is that Firebat will play Alexstrasza on 9. Then we'll have to see if the block is getting popped. If block is getting popped and Lotheb is getting played, well, even without Lotheb, if there is a way to kill Alexstrasza and pop the block, then Firebat is not able to deal 15 points of damage in one turn yet.
Yeah.
So Firebat needs 2 turns after playing Alexstrasza to seal the game. And there is that Lotheb waiting.
This draw right here is so critical to this match. It's another Ancient Allure that's actually really good.
Yeah, that's a great card.
And I'm happy to see him hold on to it too. I think playing the first one is actually, it's scary playing the first one. You still want to have access to a heal.
So this is an obvious Alexstrasza turn, or is there any other play?
Oh well, I mean, you know what else? This 15 points of damage, you get an 8/8 on the board.
You just want to take it. So now,
it's also a big draw.
Is there a way to pop the block with this is 9 plus 6?
Yeah, you could pop it.
15. Yeah, but you want to kill Alexstrasza at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't think you can actually
15,
pop it.
19, 20. Oh, he's only got 20 damage, doesn't he? 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, he's only got 20 damage. I lied to you.
So I think like right now, Ancient of Lore, BGH, and just go for face. And also this 3 points of armor might be important. Like this is extra life.
Every single point matters.
Yeah, but definitely Zozus has to think about the options. Like he wants to pop the block. He knows that burst is coming. Like Alexstrasza getting dropped by a freeze mage says, "Hey, I'm going in. You better prepare."
Yeah, this is pretty much the alarm bells. It's really tough for him. Oh, that's weird. Why would he Alexstrasza me? I don't. Yeah, it's something I haven't seen a mage do in such a long time.
It's not like freeze mage is having, "Hey, I would like to have a dragon on board." It's like, it's cool. Dragons are cool. I want to have one.
Wow, he actually chooses to draw off the Wrath and he picks up an Innervate. Why on earth didn't he just play Ancient Allure? He's actually going to Innervate the Emperor here. So he just feels safe at 18. I guess it's really tough for him to die at 18. Let's say it was Blood Mage, double Frostbolt, double Ice Dance. Would that be enough?
That's
18 exactly.
Yeah, but that's highly unlikely, I'd say.
Oh, he gets a hero part of this one too. Why did he play Lotheb though?
Because he wants to stop the spells.
But he wasn't able to pop the block this turn. I feel like at 19, I feel like if he just healed here, he's in much better shape.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
now he doesn't have the Lotheb on the turn he pops.
But on the other hand, like with maybe he thought like he can stop the AoE. Like if you play Ancient of Lore, you get Flame Strike and a ping.
Oh, well, that's a pretty darn good draw right now.
That's pretty sick. And it's interesting that he has the space on board. Like, many times it happens that after Froze Nova, you can't play all the minions. Whoa. He can pop the block now, and a good sequencing, he will...
Firebat needs to draw... I think he needs to draw Ice Block.
Yeah, he needs Ice Block or he's dead. Like, Swipe is going to kill him. Whoa, you actually got Ice Block.
Okay.
What is... Wait.
So Ice Block's for sure getting played. And I guess he's just got to go for it. He's got to play Blood Mage, Frostbolt, Ice Lance.
It's still tough. Like, there is Ancient of Lore. It's going to heal.
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough damage. 14, 9, 8. Yeah, he's going to go to 13. Block's going to get popped. Does he have an anti-heal bot in here, maybe?
Well, I would expect, like, Chasm Mystic. Oh, that was an Ice Block. Such unexpected turn of events. He knows that there is a possibility of a Pyroblast. He has to heal now. Alright, and this is going to seal the game. Firebat, even though he is a Firebat, he's not able to deal enough fire damage with the Pyroblast. Froze Nova is a nice pickup, but there is a swipe waiting.
Swipe or Key for the Grove would be enough to do it at this point too. Wow, what a close one.
Well, at least Firebat might draw a card from Acolyte.
I must safeguard the land.
Always do it from the far right side too. Always make them think that you top decked it. That's a good way to go. All right, so 2 games to 2 now.
That's a tie. So exciting.
Yeah, that's the end of the match, guys. Where these guys are going to go on a tie. No one's going to win this one.
And no one is advancing. This was a group of 3 people, so right now they are going to rematch everything.
Nah, just kidding. So game 5 is going to get underway now. So, you know, happy to get his Druid win. You know, I think it's certainly a matchup that he was looking forward to, was Freeze Mage with his Druid. But now he's got Shaman versus Mage.
Oh man, I'm just thinking like, what's different about this Shaman? There was a Cult Master. Was there a heal bot? Like, I don't think there's. Is there any healing in the deck? Originally, Shaman was really bad versus mages.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, this is going to be a tough one. I think one of the ways that he's going to win this game is just very heavy early pressure.
Yeah.
And, you know, having stuff like Flame Tongue Totem, being able to kind of stick stuff
early
to the board.
minions.
Yeah, get underneath like a Doomsayer and have it, you know, if a Doomsayer hits the board, you got a couple of different ways to answer. You got Hex, you got Earthshock. Maybe you just even have enough damage on the board to keep the pressure going.
There might be a silver bullet. There might be Kazan Mystic. Like, I've seen players playing Shaman before. They did play Kazan. Like, one Kazan fits in Shaman. If Zozus is actually running one, that might be the key card to win this matchup.
Yeah, Lothar would also be a really big one, too, if he's got Lothar in his build. Now, we did see Neptulon, and we did see Manatide Totem, and we saw Feral Spirits, and those are all kind of 3 cards that have been...
You play Neptulon at 7, you get the Cold Light Oracles, and then you burn Freeze Mage's hand. You basically play the
just
fatigue
4
game.
Cold Light Oracles, yeah, that's great. After you have an Emperor Thoris down, too.
Yeah, and you just play those guys, and then they burn Alexstrasza, they burn Pyroblast, and they're like, I guess I'm done.
I think you've just made a new meta. That's what I think.
I've seen many different plays last year and this year, and I wouldn't be that surprised to see that. But definitely the aggression route is the best route right now, and we're probably going to see Zozus just slamming those zombie chows and going for face from turn 1 if he gets them.
I would venture to say that aggression's his best chance to win this matchup, because otherwise, like you said, there's no healing in this deck. You know, it doesn't have like major burst potential. It's got like the, you know, a good 12 to 13 point of burst, but its pressure early on is just really lacking. You know, it's looking to use stuff like Crackle and Rockbiter Weapon to keep control of the board early on, and then utilize its strong mid game.
What do you think about Rockbiter, Hero, and Go Face?
Just Dennis it.
Yeah, just Dennis it. Like, make a statement.
I think it's probably not the statement he wants
it's
to
not
be
a statement he
making.
wants, definitely.
Maybe kind of saving it for surprise instead of just, you know, ripping 3 points of life total right off the top and get going.
That might not really work. But so, aggression is the way, so we support it, and if anybody supports aggression, it's Nimsh Admirable. And Zozus versus Firebat, well, Firebat will just continue with the standard plan, right? Like, he just wants to draw cards, get Alexstrasza, Ice Block.
Freeze Mage sort of tries to do the same thing every single time, and I think that's one of the strengths of the deck, is its consistency in doing so. Just, you know, draw some cards early, keep your life total high as you can, try to get a really big swing turn on the board, then look for big combos at the end. You know, one of the strongest plays it's got now is because the Emperor Thoris is to something on turn 5 like a Frost Nova Doomsayer, and then dropping an Emperor on a clean board. It's such a powerful play because the Emperor needs to be answered. You typically will have a high, you know, hand count at that point. You just get so much value from it. So game 5, we're going to get right into it, and this is match point for these guys. And again, setting the tone here really for this tournament. This is such an important one to win, and Zozus, I think he's got his back against the wall.
Oh man. Well, he got the coin and he got Haunted Creeper, so he has some minions. But then look at that hand from Firebat.
Mad scientists.
Like, only minions! This is a Freeze Mage. Are you serious?
That's a pretty darn good opening hand.
Yeah, he's going to get those secrets. He's going to draw some cards of Acolyte of Pain. If he wants to, he can play a Preventive Doomsayer. And Antonidas. Well, Antonidas is not doing much now, but it's just looking great. Like, look at this Antonidas. Just, hey, I'm surrounded by all those minions. Great. This is really interesting. So Izzo's going to continue with the Feral Spirit on free. I like Haunted Creeper, by the way. Oh, he's actually going for Feral Spirit. Yeah. I liked Haunted Creeper because if you play the Creeper, Creeper possibly dies, and then if there is an Acolyte, you just use Defender of Argus.
I'm really okay with this, and the number one reason I am is because he's just looking forward to his turn 4 play. It's really consistent with what he did last time he was playing Shaman, which was really look to nail a Pilot Shredder on turn 4, and I totally agree with him here too. I think it's so important that you get it. The totems really aren't going to be that important in this matchup, but something like the extra pressure plus being able to nail your curve I think is really important here. We saw Firebat, he reached for Doomsayer. It was the very first thing that he did, and I can really see that being an okay answer here, but this is just 2 Feral Spirits, and you kind of do have them checked right now. I mean, you have the Mad Scientist, you just got an Acolyte of Pain on board. This is a really scary spot now for Zozus.
I think like Doomsayer is kind of a reflex. Like you see a board and then you're like, oh, I played Doomsayer, I cleared this board, and then I stopped my opponent from playing minions next turn. But then he realized that Zozus actually has only 1 point of
Yeah,
mana.
he doesn't have any mana next turn either. You're trying to buy tempo with Doomsayer, and just not getting any of it here.
Yeah, Acolyte is going to grant him cards, and he needs cards. Right now, those minions are not doing much. Firebat is not going to rush his opponent. Double Blizzard. Actually, this hand is awkward for now.
Well, I actually a big fan of Double Blizzard. I feel really comfortable typically when I have it, just because you can buy so much time with Blizzards. And especially if he's already got the Acolytes of Pain and he's got both Mad Scientists, so he's got plenty of time to get the job done here.
It's also like having the small minions, especially if an opponent tries to rush you, is very important in Freeze Mage because you can deal some damage with them, you can control the board with those small minions early, and then you can use your big spells for the clears. Firebat getting another ice. Oh, he's getting 2 pair! If this would be a poker game, he would be actually a very good spot.
Mind if I roll need?
Also, filtering your deck for another secret might prove useful.
Wow, he's actually going to go face here, and I'm curious how much that second Ice Lance affected his decision to stop thinning his deck and start applying pressure, because when Zozus sees that, he does have to think a little bit about, you know, being mindful of his own life total. Like, how much can he afford to just straight out invest in that sort of position now?
I think it's really difficult. Like for Zozus, he knows that he has to be really aggressive in this matchup.
That's a lot of burn.
What do you think about playing Loot Hoarder? Like a lot of people started cutting Loot Hoarder.
Well, that's 2 Loot Hoarders.
Yeah,
so
that's 2 Loot Hoarders.
I can tell you what Firebat thinks of it.
Well, he likes it. It's an aggressive card. But then, like when people play Torisan and they play Malygos, they do cut the Loot Hoarders. I think
Did you say Malygos?
Yeah, I said Malygos. Malygos and Freeze Mage. People do cut like Loot Hoarders, they can cut Pyroblast, and they play Torisan and Malygos. And with Malygos, the math changes completely. Like, you do draw a lot of cards in Freeze Mage.
Oh, I'm thinking of some math with Malygos.
What, the math of Malygos?
Yeah, I'm thinking of 1 less card slot in my deck. He's got 2 Loot Hoarders in here. You know, Antique Healbot's actually something, that's actually a more interesting card, I think, than Malygos. Malygos is kind of cute. I mean, you definitely could, you know, play Emperor with a Malygos in your hand and then Frostbolt Iceland someone. That's funny.
What you do is that you play Antonidas first, you get a couple of Fireballs, then you play Torisan.
A couple Fireballs!
Yeah, a couple of Fireballs, like, you know, use coin, Ice Lances and stuff like that. Then you play Torisan, you get a really cheap Fireballs, and then you slam Malygos, and then, whoa, the burst. Malygos for 4, let's say, because
GG, man.
You can plow through 50 points of health.
I actually do kind of like the idea of Malygos with Frostbolt and Ice Lance, like after you have the Emperor in your hand.
Yeah.
That's so much stuff you have to draw. I mean, actually, in slower metagames, if that's something you expected, that sounds like a really good option. That's probably a pretty decent way to beat Warrior.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Emperor really gave the Warrior versus Freeze Mage such a different dynamic, too. I mean, that was a match where it was just, I mean, you basically could have just quit and you'd have been fine with it. But now that you have Emperor in there, you actually have to, like, you know, like on ladder, I think I'm something like 8 and 10 versus Control Warrior with Freeze Mage.
Yeah, that's a really insane score. Like I've seen Powder yesterday playing versus Kroba, the same matchup, and Powder was actually winning Mage versus Warrior. But coming back to the game, we're going to see this Blizzard. Firebat didn't attack with the Loot Hoarder, did he? No, he didn't. Neptulon is going to come down.
I'm a little bit curious about why he's not attacking with the Loot Hoarder. Maybe he wanted something like that to happen?
Well, the thing is, like, if he attacks with the Loot Hoarder, he does...
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there is a Torisan. Whoa.
And look at how much damage he's got, too.
Yeah, Torisan being dropped here, and Firebat is super safe with 30 points of health. Oh, he's actually clearing.
He's going to need to pack an awfully big punch. Man, you got your work cut out for you, little Micro Machine.
Micro Machine is not doing much, but still, it will be growing.
All right, is there any Murlocs here that could be super relevant?
Cold Light Oracles for the card draw and for the cards, but then again, Firebat has everything it needs right now.
With this specific context, it's really...
Oh, there's a Flame Strike as well.
Can you imagine not using Alexstrasza here?
How much damage is there? Enough. Yeah, it seems enough. It's like 3 plus 8, 11, 12.
He's got 12 directly next turn, so Alex isn't the hard part to answer. I mean, Zozus has got that checked.
I also don't see a way for the block to get popped.
Yeah, I mean, Keys and Mystic, you know, you mentioned that's a possibility in this deck. It looks to me like he really needs to get something like that. I mean, he doesn't have enough damage, right? Unless we count this wrong. He can jump to 11, he can jump into 9 with the Bluegill Warrior. Yeah, there's just doesn't have damage to do it.
Yeah, he has the BGH to counter Alexstrasza, but then he will need the Kazan to win, or like a super heal. Yep, this is tough.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Oh, wow.
Wait,
that is
exactly
15 points of damage.
That's exactly lethal. It's yeah. Firebat gets it.
Well, I don't think he necessarily needed that draw. Again, he's still sitting under Ice Block. I think Fire Blast would have been more than enough here. Pretty happy to you know, draw the cards you can to close the game out as soon as possible.
Wow,
you know,
15 points of damage in 1 turn. So Firebat is going to take the series and advance to top 8 already, where Zozus will have to face Kroba again to be able to advance to top 8.
Yeah, man, gosh, I mean, what a match between these two. Freeze Mage at 2 tournaments in a row for Firebat now. And I think he's pretty happy to pick up a win here, wasn't he? You know, might have been sweating going into this game 5. Again, the last time these guys met, Firebat had a pretty dominant performance over Zozus. But Zozus, you know, I think even despite the fact that he had what I would consider a pretty poor lineup matchup, a pretty good series. I mean, going to game 5 again with what I would perceive as pretty bad matchups in the lineups you chose to draw. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing start to the Hearthstone Spring Masters 2 here at Gfinity in London. And I'm really excited to be here and then casting those games with you, Nathan. We're having so much fun. So tell your friends, like, if you're having fun, if you're watching, tell everybody so that they can watch as well and have fun with us. We are going to have an amazing weekend in front of us, a lot of Hearthstone games, great players, great matches.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. So make sure you get out there and tell everyone about it. You know, tell all your friends on Twitter. You know, go tell your mom about it. I'm sure she's really interested in Hearthstone too. And she'd probably like to hear from you anyway, instead of just being locked away in your room. Anyways, we're going to throw it over to the analyst desk and see what they have to say about it. Over.
All right, thank you so much, Nimsh and Admirable. That wraps up our first series of the day. Firebat taking out Zozus, and almost the rematch, the replica of what we saw in the last Gfinity. Pretty closely contested. So what do we think about currently that series? I know, Callie, you had a lot to say, so we'll begin with you.
I think it looked really unfavorable with decks. I guess Zozus' lineup with Shaman and Druid and the Mech mates, or the mid mates, I suppose. It's really designed to, you know, kill Druid and Warrior. And he didn't really have either of those, so he ran into a lot of trouble. He actually had 4 of the 5 games were unfavored matchups for Zozus, so that really heavily influenced it. It became quite close, but I think the matchups just didn't go his way, this one.
So it's a lot of lineup preparation. Is that what you agree with, Lothar, or is there anything else that
well,
to you?
I'm not sure if Firebat was even preparing for a specific opponent. So I think the lineup that he used was basically his most powerful decks that he has in his arsenal. Like he loves to play Freeze Mage, Warlock, Zoo deck. It's basically his trademark, right? And Rogue also, it's one of the most used class in his choices. Whenever you see him, so he chose the 3 classes that were the most popular for him, and that's what he went with. And for Zozus, is basically.
Well, the Shaman is a really, really interesting pick. I know people are saying Shaman is bottom of the totem pole. Why bring it to a tournament like this? Is he trying to catch a specific class off guard?
I really like the Shaman, which is the aggressive one.
The
all-in Shaman, because it counters so many decks like Druid and Rogue at the same time. And when you think about the Shaman in the mid-range version, it's basically only against Druid. And Warriors, right?
It feels like, the mid-mates, for example, it's like 80% win against Druid and Warrior, and the same for the Shaman, I suppose. So if you face a Druid, which is really common, I suppose, it's thought to be one of the stronger decks, you will just win almost outright unless something goes, you know, dramatically wrong. So that's maybe his idea. Whereas Firebat is thinking, okay, I want to bring 3 diverse classes, and there's not a lot of lineups that can deal with Freeze Mage, Rogue, and Shu, because they all play dramatically differently. So
it was a good point when you brought out the Shaman, but the fact is that now, after the Imp Gang boss was released, the metagame shifted like really heavily. We didn't see Zoo at all. and now it's back. And when you think about Zoo matchups are great against Druid and Shamans, because if Shaman doesn't draw Lightning Storm, even then.
Something back now, because Imp Gang Boss and Nerubian Eggs, there's so many
Void
more
Colors,
things.
there's so many things that just ruin the Lightning Storms. I think Shaman is really unfavored against Zoo, and when you think about the metagame right now, Shaman is really awful.
I think the thing to consider is, Crobat will bring a warrior, so it would be really strong against Crobat's lineup. And I like Shaman myself. I played a lot in the Kingwin Pro League, and that's when I know the guy that I'm playing against. If I know he favors, I guess Druid and Handlock and I suppose maybe even the warrior. So against someone I guess like Life Coach, this would be an insane lineup. But in an open tournament, or I guess you face 5 or 6 different guys, it's not as strong, I suppose, because you're eventually just going to run into a deck that doesn't have Druid or Warrior or Handlock. So
well, in this tournament, you would have to send your deck list before the groups were announced. So it's basically like an open tournament.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. Let's talk about moments of the match here.
Oh yeah, we had some interesting.
We have a couple of scenarios where we thought it was really interesting, the line that was taken. It ended up working out in favor of some of the players. So I think the first one we want to talk about is turn 1.
Yeah.
Warlock versus Druid. Now that one had a lot of ways you could have played it out in terms of how it ended up maybe panning. But we thought it was really interesting that Firebat chose to go for a coin haunted creeper as opposed to just playing the Flame Imp onto the board.
I think the thing to consider there is, you may be a bit afraid of, I suppose, Innovate and the Keeper of the Grove. But the thing is, like, Innovate and Keeper of the Grove is always going to be strong, no matter what happens if you're playing Zoo. So even though it's a hard counter to the Flame Imp, you can't really play around it because you're going to just get, screwed by it in game 2 or 3, turn 2 or 3, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, but you already saw the Zombie Chow, right? So you know what's going on. If you play the Haunted Creeper with the coin, then the Keeper Innovate is still so powerful. You could just silence the Haunted Creeper, trade it with your Zombie Chow, and the board is...
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I mean, but I suppose his idea is, okay, if he has Zombie Chow into Wild Growth, he can't be hero powering on turn 2. So I suppose if he has Wild Growth, then it's stronger to go for the Hunter Creeper. But if he doesn't, it's stronger to go for the Flame Imp. So I guess in general, I would like the Flame Imp better, as you don't really want to be playing around the Innovate Keeper, and the Wrath I suppose is stronger with the Flame Imp, but I mean, it's a 2-mana card for 1-mana card, so it's a good trade for the Zoo.
I think it was important to keep the coin because your hand was so awful that if you draw something off curve, you can still, plan it
definitely
out.
Game Boss, for example.
Yeah, and exactly. So I would still go every single time. I would still play the Flame Imp turn 1, turn 2 Hunted Creeper, because then you also push your opponent into, if he wants to trade into the Hunted Creeper with the Zombie Chow because he has a Wrath for your Flame Imp, then he has to hero power in turn 3 and not play an example Shade of Nextremas. So if he plays Shade, your Hunted Creeper is safe. If he doesn't play Shade and hero powers, then he loses his mana efficiency.
Another moment that stuck out to us was when Firebat in game number 1 was he was mixing up being really aggressive. Like, for example, his opponent would play a Pilot Shredder. He would play the Drake and attack to face with his SI7. And then all of a sudden he shifted into trading mode, and then he played his South Sea deckhand, which ended up being this thing where he had 2 oils, no way to actually capitalize on it because his opponent was holding the Ancient of War and he was scared. Talk a little bit about that dynamic there, because it looked a little confusing in terms of what his game plan was.
I think a key thing is obviously the mid-mates will have mirror entities, so South Sea Deckhand is excellent against that. He had 2 oils, so there's this, I guess, late game combo where you go South Sea, you go for the preparation oil, another oil, and then Blade Flurry, and do like 18, 19 damage, clear the board, and just, devastate the game. So
it's important to say now that he didn't draw the Blade Flurry at all in the whole game, and he was like 5 cards left.
2 Blade Flurries in the deck.
But it resulted, I guess, in 2 turns later on turn 9, where he had already dumped the South Sea, so he had a really awkward turn where he couldn't really hit to play into Mirror Entity and then dig for a Blade Flurry to clear. So if he'd had that South Sea Deckhand, he could just play the South Sea Deckhand into the Mirror Entity and been better off, I think.
All right. Well, still, regardless of those interesting moments that stuck out to us, I think Firebat, like you said, the king of preparation. That's what his strength lies. I think he brought really good lineup, and Zozus just matched up pretty poorly against it overall.
I think overall, I think Firebat made few mistakes and just played better in this series, I have to say. And it was really unfortunate for Zozus. I think he deserves a lot of credit. He did take 2 games, I suppose, but into a worse lineup, so taking 2 games with that lineup against what Firebat bring, I think is really impressive. But
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not out of it yet. He falls to the lower bracket. And Firebat, because, again, one of the members of the group's not here, so he goes straight to the round of 8. Did you want to say something, Lothar?
Well, I wanted to go back to the Shaman for a second, because you didn't agree with the turn 2 coining out Spirit Wolves, right?
Yeah,
That was something you were heavily disagreeing with it.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's basically 5 mana. I think if you lose 2 mana on the next turn, then you have only 1 mana left. So because you are overloaded by 2, so it's turn 3. You have 2 overloads. You only have 1 mana. You basically can't play anything with that.
Unless it's Lightning Bolt, Rock Biter Weapon, or Zombie Chow.
I suppose, but he didn't have any of those. So he essentially paid 3 mana, the coin, which I guess counts for 1 mana, and then 3 mana the next turn. So it's in total it's 6 mana for 2 2/3s. And he had like really tempo heavy cards like the Paladin Sphere and the Defender of Arcus, which I think would have been better use,
Yeah, but on the other hand, if he coins out these Spirit Wolves on turn 2, then he can play the Paladin Treasure on turn 4. Like with the usual mana curve.
It's true, yeah. He takes less damage to face, I suppose, but I think in this matchup against Freeze Mage, it's more important the damage you do to the guy, because eventually the Freeze Mage is going to Alex Tvasa, so, I mean, if you're on 25 or 30 when you Alex Tvasa, it's not going to make much difference, I suppose.
That's very true.
Or you can just not bring Shaman.
Also, that's one of the
things.
best
Although,
call.
I'm not going to... Maybe it ends up being the case where he wins the entire tournament after losing his first series, and Shaman's a big key of it. It's still too early to say.
A long chain, I suppose, of Warriors and Druids.
Right. I'm just messing, of course. So, guys, we're done with our first series of the day. We're going to have another one coming up. I believe Live Coach is coming up on stream in just a second.
True.
And who is going to be the first opponent?
Bunny Muffin?
That's right. Bunny Muffin all the way from the USA. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hop into Group C here at Gfinity Spring Masters Cup #2.